Hello my friends, this is Dragonheart the Prince of Wales and welcome to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. As you can tell by my voice and how I'm feeling right now, you're probably doing a lot better than me. I haven't been well for about a week. I went to a work do last Friday, like the first proper work do I've been to with my current employer, and it was pretty good fun and stuff, but I wasn't well before I went. I started to feel quite lightheaded and a bit sicky feeling. Still went along with it. Recovered when I went to the place that we were supposed to go to. Had a couple of drinks. I was okay. Then I started to not feel good. Thought maybe having some food might make me feel a bit better. Had a bit of pizza. Literally couldn't swallow the pizza. Just chewing and chewing for ages. It just wouldn't go down properly. And then got picked up in the car for like 10 minutes. Threw up everywhere. Spent the weekend just cleaning my car out. So wasn't the best, and I'm not feeling great. I'm feeling better than I was. I felt a lot worse than I am now, but I'm a little bit like full up. Just my nostrils feel like they're blocked. My throat feels like it's blocked. My throat feels dry, then it feels salty, then it feels whatever. My chest is like hurting a little bit from coughing. So yeah, just not the best. I haven't uploaded on the channel for a while. That's been because I've just been busy. Ill or busy. There's been some things going on like behind the scenes, like I've been unwell as I've just mentioned, but my nan hasn't been doing too good. My mother hasn't been doing too good. They're okay, they're both fine, but like it's just things going on behind the scenes with them, where obviously you have like worries and stuff with your parents and your grandparents and stuff, especially when they get to a certain age. So just things like that really. I did do a battle report. I did attempt to do a battle report. I had a battle last week against Matthew for Warhammer the Old World, and I won't go through the full thing of the battle because it'll be an all day and it'll be boring. But the battle was a draw. It was a 10-10 draw. I'm not going to do the battle report because the footage wasn't very good, and I just don't think the battle wouldn't be good to upload anyway. Even besides that, like, it wasn't much of a battle, if you get what I mean. Like, nothing really happened for the first 3 turns anyway. Just being very, standoffish, both armies sort of thing. And then eventually you had a bit of combat, but nothing really happened in that combat. But in the final scores, I lost my Blood Knights and my Dire Wolves. He lost a big block of Orcs. He lost a Wizard as well that was part of that Orcs, and it ended up being something like 460 something points to 460 something points. It was like 4 or 5 points difference, which is a draw. So that's what we did. We played Flank Attack, which is in the old, in the first edition, I guess, of Warhammer the Old World. It's like 6 different things you play. We did Mountain Pass last time. We did Flank Attack this time. But there's not much else to say about the battle really. It's certainly not worth uploading, so I won't be uploading it. Warhammer the Old World, I think I'm a little bit burnt out from it at the moment. I don't know whether it's just I've played too much of it, or I think maybe part of it's because I've thrown myself in and I've allowed other aspects of my life to kind of fall by the wayside, such as video gaming, which I had this very conversation with you all on my channel probably a year ago when I was like, I haven't uploaded anything this year. I feel kind of, disappointed with it when I usually play something and complete something every year. So that's something I'm working on. I'll get into that in a second. But with Warhammer the Old World, I have a tournament coming up at the end of October. It's 25th, 26th. I'm playing with my vampire accounts. I gotta be honest, I'm not expecting anything from this tournament. I probably will lose 5 games. I'm quite a new player. I do make some mistakes. My understanding of the game is pretty good, and I think for someone who's brand new in wargaming in general, not just Warhammer the Old World, I think I've done tremendously well and pat myself on the back sort of thing, or on the shoulder. But I'm going up against people who've been playing this game like 20, 30 years. And they're like, some of them are tryhards, do you know what I mean? Like they win at all costs kind of thing. And in a competitive nature, people can get quite, strange, shall we say. So I guess I'm a little bit fed up of the kind of competitive side of it. I just want to play some games and have fun and maybe make it a little bit thematic and have some fun scenarios and stuff. I think I'm more that type of player. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's fine. I think in the hobby you can have your competitive people and your non-competitive casual players, and I think I'm probably going to be more on the casual side. But I'm going to go to the tournament. I'm going to try my best. I've got my 2,000 point army. I think it's a decent enough army. I sent an email to the organizer last week and he said the list looks fine. So I was like, cool. So I've now submitted the list on the thing I got submitted on, New Recruit. And we'll just go from there and see what happens. But I was a little bit disappointed because I bought my ticket for this. I think it was February or March of this year. And that basically, the tournament's coming up in a few weeks. I have to buy a baggage train or prepare a baggage train to have as a scenery piece / objective, where I gotta protect it and my opponent will try and take it and vice versa. And I've got to try my best not to lose it, basically. And if they take it, they're going to get like a few hundred points or whatever the case may be. Now, the organizer has already given us a free 3D printed Banshee model, which I'm looking forward to. It's really kind of them to do that. Especially being a Vampire Counts player, that's going to be really handy for me if I want to go double Banshee at some point, because I've got one Banshee already, but having two would be really cool. But it's just like, well, if you're 3D printing something for us all, surely they could have 3D printed some baggage trains for us, and then we could have taken them home and painted them and used them in our spare time, sort of thing. But no, it's one of the requirements. You have to bring tokens and you have to bring a baggage train. So I've obviously bought myself a baggage train from Etsy. It arrived the other day. I've literally kit bashed a little bit of it so far, but it's literally in bits, more or less. I haven't started it properly yet. That's now something I'm going to be working on, and that's going to take, a few hours to build, prime, and then paint. And it's just, it's nothing worse than painting something that you don't really, one, you don't want to paint it, two, you don't necessarily enjoy painting it, three, you're going to use it once, never use it again. And that's the situation I'm in. So that's made me feel a little bit bitter. And the reason why I mentioned earlier about I bought my ticket back in February, March was that wasn't a requirement back then. But I think the tournament got updated when the new 1.5 match play guide came out. And that's now a requirement in some of those scenarios. So it's like, oh shit, the rules have changed. I've now got to guess something else. So that's kind of upset me a little bit. On top of that expense, I've got more expense. This is kind of my own fault, but my list, I have 25 Graveguard. Graveguard are like elite skeleton infantry. They're like equivalent to Tomb Guard for the Tomb Kings. Now, I bought a box of 10 of these a few months ago, and they're quite sturdy. They're really good, but you only get 10 in a box. They're quite expensive. I think I got it for a pretty good deal. I think it was like £28 through somewhere. I think it's Firestorm Games. But I remember when we went to Dublin, I saw them and they were like £10 more. And I was like, how are you £10 more for 10 models? That's ridiculous. Anyway, they've been discontinued from Age of Sigmar, these models. So I can't have the exact models for the 10 I've already got. So I need to make up 15 more Graveguard to join the 10 that I've got and make them look like a unit. So for the battle I did with Matthew last week, I just borrowed some of my Tomb Kings, Tomb Guard, and put them together. But they're on sandy bases and stuff, so they don't look right at all. But I just used them and saying that's a Graveguard now, not a Tomb Guard, because they are similar, but Anyway, my workaround is to buy myself 2 boxes of Barrow Guard. Barrow Guard are basically Graveguard, but they got a slightly different design. So I bought 2 boxes because, again, you only get 10 per box. So I've had to buy 2 boxes. I could, obviously, you could 3D print and stuff, but I don't want resin models with shields and heads and stuff just breaking off easily. That's what my experiences has been with resin models so far. So I want to have an all plastic army. And my army is Age of Sigmar anyway. All of my units are Age of Sigmar looking. So it just makes sense to keep them all Age of Sigmar looking. Not that I want to give money to Games Workshop, but that's kind of how I feel about it. It's like, well, if that's everything's pretty much Age of Sigmar, maybe I'll just keep it all Age of Sigmar. Anyway, they came, they've arrived, and I'm working on these now. So I've got I got 15 of these that I'm working on right now. I'm like 2/3 of the way through painting them, but I'm not really enjoying painting them because I feel like I'm painting under pressure. And I think you should be painting to when you want to paint something and enjoy it, and to relax and stuff. And I just don't feel like I'm doing much of that at the moment with this. So that's upsetting me. And I think as well, it's just Warhammer. it's just annoying me a bit lately. I think I've had too much of it. I think I've just played too much and stuff, and maybe need a bit of a break. I think I'll have this tournament now in October. Once that's out the way, I'll put my vampire accounts away. They go up in the garage where I keep all my other armies. And then I've got, I think, the 9th of November, the group that I play with from Chepstow, they're Paul's friends. We do like a 1,000 point thing once a month. I think 9th of November, that's going to be the last time I play Warhammer this side of Christmas. And I'll probably take a different army. I think I'll just go Orcs and Goblins, just go all Goblin army to have fun, because that's what I want to do. I've got a Goblin Doom Dive I've never used before, which I've painted previously. I want to just shoot my Goblin at somebody. I just want to throw a bunch of fanatics on the table, and I just want to see myself implode and just have a laugh doing it. That's what I want. I want that enjoyment. And like I said, with competitive, it's just, people who are far more experienced, some tryhards. Some people are great, some people are not. Do you know what I mean? And it's just, yeah. So I think I'm a bit burnt out by it. But point I was going to make about like gaming and stuff. So this is going to be quite an interesting conversation to have with you all. I recently got back into video gaming. I finally found some time. I had like 2 hours on a Sunday where I was like, I got time to actually do something. So I got back into Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Now this game came out, I think it was end of February or early March of this year. I played, I think, 24 or 25 hours of the game. I'm still on the first map, because 2 maps in the game. I'm still on the first map. I'm about 50% through the story, or at least that's what the PlayStation tells me when I go into the menu. It says you're 50% through. And I'm loving it. I've got back into it. I really, really enjoyed it. It's good fun, and I would recommend it to anyone who's a historical fan of history. Historical fan history doesn't make any perfect, oh god, you can tell I'm not well. I just can't get my sentences out. I'm just I'm feeling really, really rough, but it's a good experience. It's up there for me as one of my top games that I've played in recent years, definitely. And once I finish the game and get through the entire story, I'll probably give you my thoughts, but it's up there and it's really, really good. It's far better than the first game in every field, basically. So I've been playing that. I've been watching a little bit of Legend of Total War, as you do, and there's been some drama in the Total War scene, which I won't go into in this video, but it's so fun. I think I have more fun watching people complain about Total War and insulting each other and Creative Assembly just imploding on themselves than I do actually playing the Total War games. I think I'm more of a voyeur when it comes to Total War. I just enjoy the chaos of it all, and that's what's been happening in the community. So I've just been sitting back and just relaxing, eating some popcorn while that goes down. But I've been watching him, and I actually went back and watched some of his save and disaster campaigns, and the ones I watched were Medieval 2, and it really got me back into a historical way of thinking. And I was like, that's really cool. I might go back and play Medieval 2 sometime. It looks really interesting. I also recently came across a channel called Seventh Son, who is a miniature painter, and it seems really cool in the videos that I've watched of his so far. And he plays a game called Baron's War. You can probably see where this is going already. It is a skirmish medieval game which came out, I think, 4 years ago. I think the second edition's come out a bit more recently, though. I think it came out this year. And it looks really, really fun. I've watched a few battle reports of his on his channel. They are really good. If you're from the valleys, you would say they are mint, son. And they are. They are really, really good. To simplify it, the rules seem quite easy to pick up. You have, the starter box has 2 armies. They are 500 points each, or you can build it to one army and be 1,000. You have the rule book, you have like a supporting document, you get a bunch of tokens, you get different dice, because they use a 10-sided dice, and they also have D6 as well. So you have like your army set up, so you'll have like a group of like peasant bowmen, a group of like sergeants, and then you have like your knights or whatever, and your commander. So you pick your weapons and stuff, and then you place them on the battlefield, and then it works a little bit like XCOM 2 is the way I would explain it. So like, I'm player 1, I go first, I'm going to do a movement action, and my peasant archers are going to move to this location because I think this might be a good place for me. Then my opponent moves one of his, I go back and move one of mine, and you go through with an action. It's not necessarily a movement, it might be a defensive action or attacking action as well. Or commander, I think a commander has like a secondary action as well, or something to that effect. And basically, once everything has been actioned, you then have a housekeeping part where you do any like modifiers or anything that effects are still on the table. You sort of check, and then that turn comes to a close, and you move on to the next turn, and then it works like that. And I think that's a really cool way, because it's strategy but in a much different way, where you're not necessarily, it's not like Warhammer where it's like, okay, it's my command phase, I'm going to do some magic, I'm going to rally this guy, I'm going to do whatever, I got a list of things to do. Right, okay, now I'm going to declare charges, I'm going to declare a charge there, I'm going to declare the charge by there, how are you going to react to blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'm going to charge, I'm definitely in by there, I'm going to charge, I'm definitely in by there. Okay, now what's going to happen here? Right, I'm going to do regular movements, he's going to go by there 6 inches, that one's going to go by there 7 inches, this one's going to just fly over to by there, this one's just going to hold us by there. Okay, I like my position with this one. And now we're going to go to the shooting phase. Oh, my wizard's got some magic, my magic's going to go by here, a little portal go by there, boom, 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 I'm going to shoot some fireballs over there, boom, boom, boom. Right, okay, let's look, oh, I've got some archers, but I've got some archers going to shoot over there, boom, 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 boom. You've got some saves, sir. Oh, no, you don't. Unfortunately, you're dead, sir. Blah, 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 blah. And then it's like, oh, yeah, we are still in the shooting phase. I have a breath attack. I'm going to use a breath attack. Breath attack. Oh, it didn't do anything. Breath attacks don't do anything in this game. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so, oh, we got combat. Okay, I'm only about here. Okay, I have a better initiative. Oh, you have initiative. Okay, I go first, and then that's Warhammer. That's actually what Warhammer is, and it's just it's a bit of a mind sort of thing. Whereas I think this game, for someone like me, a relative newbie, I think it may be easier to pick up. So I'm thinking of getting into this game. I'm thinking of getting into Baron's War. The other point I wanted to make as well, this is me having a bit of a moan about Games Workshop as well. I'm playing Vampire Counts in Old World, and I was looking at models the other day, because obviously trying to build a list for this tournament and build a competitive list and basically fleshing out my roster of models that I own and that kind of stuff. And I was in Firestorm Games, and I was looking on the shelf, and I picked up this big box. It was the Black Coach. It's a beautiful model. It looks lovely. I looked at the price. I almost had a heart attack. It was like £90. I was like, what, for a horse and carriage? For a horse and carriage? Like nothing else, just a horse and carriage in plastic. £90. And then you go on Games Workshop's website, it's far more, because Firestorm gets like a 10% discount. And I was like, that's insane. Now, Barons of War, their starter box is anywhere from about 75 to like £85, depending on where you look. I did see a count of 75, but it looked sold out on a certain website, or one or two websites, but it seems to be about £85. So I'm basically, I could buy an entire game, have 2 starter armies, a rule book, the dice, all the gibbons that go with it and stuff, and I can literally buy all of that for less than the horse and carriage. And that just sort of blew my mind when I compared the prices. I just thought, oh my God, the barrier for entry. And I'm part of the problem, because I've been buying Warhammer miniatures now, and I'm a few armies deep at this point and stuff. So I'm obviously part of the problem, but it's just sort of blew my mind, and I came to that realization. It's like, holy shit, these models are way too pricey. But yeah, the game looks fun. I've watched a couple of battle reports of Baron's War. I think I'm going to get into it. I might get the starter box. If I get some money for Christmas or something like that, maybe I'll go and buy it, or maybe buy it when I get paid next, or something like that. And then that can be something I might look to play, whether I can get a friend to play it, or whether I can get my nephew into it, because he seems to be showing interest in things more these days. So maybe that's something I can play with him as well. So that's kind of how I'm thinking and feeling at the moment with that game. But I mentioned Baron's War, and I mentioned Kingdom Come Deliverance. And there's a website, these things will make sense in a second. There's a website called War Games Illustrated, which I buy magazines for War Games Illustrated every now and again. They're really cool, and they go over different historical games and stuff, and the models and the paintings look really, really cool. I mean, just look at these Arthurian models, aren't they beautiful? I know the camera's probably the wrong way around, but they look beautiful. Anyway, War Games Illustrated, up until recently, I did not know this, but they sell models off their website. I didn't know this. I thought it was just like a magazine subscription service and whatever. But no, they actually do sell models. And while I was scrolling, I saw a couple of models and I thought, ooh, I might have to buy these. Which is what I did. I bought some models. And I'm going to unbox them or unpack them by here live for you. So I mentioned Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Now there's a character in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 called Jan Zizka. I think that's how you pronounce his name. And I'm not going to spoil the game, but he's a very interesting character in the game. Now, I am going to show you what I've got. This is him by here, if I just zoom it in a little bit. It's a metal model, but the back of it says Jan Zizka 1420. Zizka was the most successful Hussite battlefield commander. He learned his trade and lost an eye as a mercenary fighting against the Teutonic Order, but came to prominence leading Hussite troops to a series of victories won using their trademark battle wagons. So a battle wagon is a wagon that you have in battle. I mean, there's more to it than that. The way it's described, battle wagons were literally like the earliest form of tanks. And Jan Zizka was one of the people who sort of pioneered the early forms of gun warfare in the medieval era, which I think is fascinating. And this is alluded to in the game Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I won't say more, but it's alluded to in the game. But he's basically a badass commander who has an eye patch. And they literally, after he died, one of his dying wishes was, I want you to cut my skin off me, and I want you to make a drum kit out of my skin so that I can still be leading my troops in battle. So you're using my skin as like a drum. Like, how badass is that? So this guy is like, I've gravitated towards him straight away. And I've bought this this model from War Games Illustrated by here. And he's actually, you can't see it on the camera, but he has got like the eye patch thing going on as well, which is really cool. He's got the whole handlebar moustache, which I love as well. The badass handlebar moustache and stuff. So I'm going to paint him up. I'm going to put him on a 25mm circle base. And if I do get into Baron's Hall, like I said, he can be my commander for it. And I think I could even paint my army as a possible Baron's War Hussite army sort of thing, Bohemian army. I think that'd be interesting. So that's the first model I bought. But I said there's two models. What is the second model, you may ask? Well, I am a Welsh person and I love history. And Welsh people who love history also love Owain Glyndŵr. So I've got an Owain Glyndŵr model. It's a model on a horse, basically. You can see it's in the pack, but there. If I just try and zoom in a little bit for you folks. The camera isn't like changing at all. That's really bad. So this is what it says about Owain Glyndŵr. Owain ap Gruffydd, Lord of Glenfyddre, known famously as Owain Glyndŵr, was a medieval Welsh lord who transitioned from loyalist to rebel leader. Glyndŵr emerged from relative obscurity to inspire a significant part of the Welsh population to take up arms and fight for independence. A symbol of Welsh nationalism and a warrior knight of great ability and renown, our model of Glyndŵr is represented at the charge, doubtless leading a force of medieval Welshmen across the tabletop. So this is him by here. Again, metal model, looks really cool. I'm going to have fun over Christmas basing him and painting him. And I think this is kind of the theme of the video, but about having fun painting models and not feeling like you're forced to paint stuff you don't want to paint. So they are two little purchases I've had. They were very cheap. They are very, very cheap. I was expecting these things. And maybe it's because I've been conditioned by Games Workshop the last year or so. But horse and carriage, £90, right? Owain Glyndŵr, metal on horseback, £7. And then Jan Zizka was £4. And there was £2 delivery or something like that I had to pay on top. So very, very cheap compared to Games Workshop. And yeah, Owain Glyndŵr, I can base him and stuff, and maybe have a Welsh army as one of those armies if I do go into Barons War. So they are the things that I'm thinking of at the moment. And we'll just have to see and go from there. I've been reading a lot of history stuff lately as well. I've just been on like a historical binge. I think when I've been unwell, I'm just like, oh, make myself feel better. Let's read up on my history. And that's what I've been doing. So I've been reading a lot about the de Clare family, and I learned something that blew my mind. Completely blew my mind, this did. So if you've watched the Vikings TV show, it's a really good TV show. You've got Ragnar Lothbrok. Ragnar Lothbrok in that show has a brother called Rollo. Now, Ragnar Lothbrok and Rollo weren't actually brothers, but they sort of made this creative decision for the purpose of the show. However, Rollo was a real historical figure. He was the first Norman king. So he's a Viking that came down from Scandinavia into France and became the first king of Normandy, the first Norman king. So that's him. He's a very interesting person in history, and he has a son. He has a son, and his son has a son as well, as you do, because people do in life and in history and stuff. What I found out, though, was that the de Clare family are related to Rollo, and I did not know this. So you've got Richard de Clare, who is, in history, he's seen as a bit of a rogue. He is basically the guy he became Earl of Pembroke. He also, I think he had I'm not sure if it's Earl of Strigui, I think it's pronounced. Strigui. But it's basically like a little region around like Chepstow area. And there's like a lesser earldom, I think, or something to that extent. And basically, he had these titles, and he was obviously quite a powerful lord who was very ambitious. He goes over to Ireland, gets involved in the wars over there. He ends up becoming like the Lord of Dublin, and he ends up dying, which you do. And his son, who he has, I think he dies young. So his earldom and his estates and stuff pass through his daughter Isabel to her husband. Her husband is William Marshall. William Marshall is like the most badass knight ever. He's the guy who served under 4 kings. He went to France. He took part in jousts and tournaments and stuff and just kept winning all the time and won favour with everyone. He fought in multiple wars throughout Europe and throughout Britain. And he also became Earl of Pembroke. And the Marshall family, I think, they were basically on the crown side, so they were on the English side, and they were the ones fighting against Llywelyn ap Gruffydd and people like that generation. Oh, sorry, the other ones fighting against, though that not necessarily Llywelyn ap Gruffydd, but those people in that era. But his grandson, so William Marshall has a son also called William Marshall. William Marshall II, who was also Earl of Pembroke, has a son. That son ends up switching sides and fights on the side of the Welsh, which I think was the time then of Llywelyn ap Gruffydd. So I just found how all this sort of blew my mind. So it was like, oh, Rollo was Norman king related to the de Clares. De Clares had Richard de Clare, who was known as Strongbow. Strongbow is like a bastardization of the Earl of Strigui, I think it is, or something like that. That he gets killed in Dublin or wherever, and Gurins. His estates fall to William Marshall. William Marshall's badass knight, and then his grandson then fights on the side of the Welsh. It just blew my mind. When you just read something online and then you go down the rabbit hole. I went down a massive rabbit hole, and this was kind of where I ended up. I love history. I think that's the theme of this. I love my history. I read about my history. I love my history, and I'm looking forward to maybe getting into Barons War and maybe painting up some nice models. The point I was going to make, again, I've gone off on a tangent. The point I was going to make, the de Clare family, I think I would possibly do like a William Marshall de Clare little colour scheme with the sigil and stuff on the shields. That's the point I was trying to make. I've been talking for half an hour. I'm not well. I've had enough now. I'm going to go. All the best, everyone. See you soon. Bye.